Hi, everyone. I am here with Victoria Jazwic, who is the soul nurturer. She's a soul guide and a transformational hypnotherapist. I have known Victoria for several years. I'm going to say maybe even onwards to like 10 at this point now. I think it's been quite a while. I am a client of Victoria's and I have worked with her throughout this whole time. And I just need everyone to know who you are because you have helped me and so many others in ways that I just can't even describe. I mean, your work is really something that someone has to experience to understand the transformation that can take place within their own body. And, I've said this to you in the past, but every time I have a session with you, whether it's in person or over the phone, I come out of it like I am a brand new woman ready to take on the world and feeling more confident and more empowered than ever before. So thank you for the work that you do.
My
Um,
goodness.
so
Thank you for that. Wow, I'm crying over here.
good,
Thank you.
good. So can you tell us, what is it exactly that you do? What does it mean to be a soul nurturer and a soul guide?
Yeah, no simple task to describe that. I'm really honored by what you said. Thank you so much. And that is, how do you describe that? The opening and waking up of one's soul and potential and expansion of possibility. How do you quantify that? And it's been my challenge since I've taken on this soul call. 19 years ago, I was called I was working in the music industry and for the Grammy Awards actually. And you know how we have those soul calls and we're already kind of doing what we're meant to do, but it may look a little different. And my undergraduate work was in psychology, and I always thought I'd go back and become a traditional mental health therapist. In California, it's called an MFCC, and that was my goal. But as I was continuing my education and working in the industry, entertainment industry, and people would always come to my cubicle and take some time to restore and reset. So I was already doing my work. I kept hearing about hypnotherapy, but I was very cynical. I always say I'm a very healthy cynic. You have to prove to me something works before I believe it, right? Before I'll give way to it and trust it. So it just kept coming. The message kept coming. And you know, that saying that if you hear something once, you can ignore it, twice, pay attention, three, take action, right? So I went and explored that. And when I learned about the subconscious mind, um, by that time I had done a lot of inner work, my own therapy, own counseling, lots of programs, lots of processes. But when I was introduced to the awareness of the subconscious mind and that it is the primary driver of our human behavior and experiences, I was like, light bulb moment. Of course, this is what we need to address. So I began my journey of I became a transformational hypnotherapist, and from there just kept adding, as we do as practitioners, adding different modalities, weaving in my own, I call it my own soul medicine for what I offer. And I do a little bit of everything, and and what I say is anything at the essence of soul.
Mhm.
I like to meet people at the level of the soul to reflect back that potential and possibility that we forget in this human experience. We come in with so much potential and purpose. And so I really just think I'm a space holder for that to kind of clear the windshield of awareness so you can see yourself and remember who you are. And I'm getting chills right now and reclaiming that, right?
Yeah.
So I just fell in love with that work. And of course, as practitioners too, the work we do is the work we do for ourselves. That,
Absolutely.
that as within, so without. And as I continue to learn and grow as a practitioner and my own potential, I keep expanding my tools to support others.
Right.
Yeah. So Soul Guide was just the closest match I could find. And I nurture soul potential. So yeah.
Well, I love that. I think it's a perfect description of who you are, being that, the soul nurturer, because that's definitely something that I know to be true about you and anyone who has ever been in your presence. You just ooze nurturing energy. I mean, everything about you is it feels safe and loving and kind. And, I just seriously, I have never met another human being with your kind of energy that just everything feels so safe. And
Mhm.
it's just such a lovely energy to be in and to support the healing process. And I love
Mhm.
what you said about, as you continue to grow and evolve, so does your practice, because that's absolutely 100% true for, I think, most practitioners in this kind of work anywhere, within the healing modalities, is as we continue to grow, our practices continue to grow and evolve too, because the work that we do it because we usually have a personal connection to it. And so
That's
it's the work that we need to do for ourselves as well. And we are never, I always tell people, like, we've never arrived anywhere. We are constantly working.
That is right. And that's a misconception. I remind people all the time, especially when you come to a hypnotherapist or someone who does create pretty significant shifting over a shorter amount of time, that the majority of what we're working with will be working with. It's our the material and our, on our in our emotional experience, our psyche, all of that is going to be pretty much the material we work with. It's
Mhm.
how we address it and how we evolve it, and that is in the human experience. And then we need to really make way for the soul potential.
Right.
The reason that how I came up with soul nurturer was I really believe that we do all, as I said, come in with a certain purpose, this mission why we're all here. But the first and primary function that we have to, or goal we have to achieve, is surviving in the human experience with our family of origins. And so we sort of like push our purpose down, waiting. It's like a seed in the soil, waiting for the opportune time to grow and evolve. But in our family of origins, and I always say, never blame families or parents. We all do the best we can with the programming we have.
Mhm.
But if we do not receive the soul ingredients, I call it the ingredients for our own unique soul recipe, we're not going to flourish. And so nurturing means, I teach my clients to do this for themselves. I love to hold space, but really I'm a mirror for their potential, to nurture our own potential. What did we need that we didn't get? Do we need someone to be present to us? Do we need more compassion, more love, more encouragement? So that's where we nurture our own potential and learn to, parent ourselves, love ourselves forward into that potential. And just like if you put a plant in the soil that it wasn't conducive for growing, we have to replant ourselves sometimes and find out what is it that we need, and then nurture that potential. I see it in everyone. I mean, no one I know, I mean, even with the most perfect parent, if there is such a thing, um, everyone's still missing something because we're so externally focused that we forget to look inward to find out what we need
Right.
for our highest and greatest evolvement. Yeah.
Yeah. You mentioned previously about the subconscious mind,
Mhm.
and I would like to talk about that a little bit, because I think it's something that we hear a lot, but maybe not everybody knows exactly what we're talking about, or really how deep the subconscious runs the show.
Yes. Yes. How much of it? I really like to use the analogy of a computer. Our minds are like a computer. We have hardwired information. When we come into this world, we don't have to worry about breathing or running our bodies, all happening in the hardwired information. But well, actually, before we even come into the world, we're doing a thing called adapting. We're ready, we're preparing ourselves to be in this world, to adapt, to survive. That's the primary function of our brain, is to keep us safe, to survive. So we are, and as a mom, that babies are like sponges, right? Well, babies from 0 to 7 in utero until about 7, we are in a hypnotic state. We are just absorbing everything around us. Okay. That is to climatize. That is to get used to this world, to be able to function like we're little aliens, and like, how do we do this world called life here? And so we look to our family of origin, our same-sex parent, as our primary teacher, primary resource of references, which is the key word. So references, associations go into the subconscious mind. And again, like the computer metaphor, we have files in the mind, just like you have files in your computer. And we tend to have these files of association and references for how to do everything. How does this woman called my mother cope? Does she have anxiety? What are her life skills like? What's the food file? I know you work a lot with nutrition with people. And in our food file, we have things like comfort and reward, and that's not what food's about. So all of these files, relationships, another one that I love to work with because I had to reconstruct my whole relationship file so I could have a healthy relationship. Money, all of them, right? So it's all getting sort of downloaded into the subconscious mind. And when I learned, gosh, 19 years ago or 20, I was taught that our subconscious material was 88% of our mental capacity. In other words, 88% of the time, that is like we're not even aware of it, conscious of it, but it's operating. It's our operating system, right? But now with more brain research, we research says it's more like 95% subconscious. So sub is below the consciousness. Our 5% consciousness, which is our logic, our conscious awareness, our choice, our decision making, it's 5%, right? I remember I wrote a paper in my hypnotherapy training way back when, and I said, it's like this. I said 88 and 12%, but I'll update it to say 95 and 5%. Say you have this goal, this idea, I want to really step up and be more myself, be more vocal, be more confident. And you gather 100 people and you say, hey, who's on board with me here? You all want to help me? 5% say, yeah, I'll help you. And 95% says, I'm not really sure about that yet. I don't know if I'm familiar with that. Well, that's kind of like how the subconscious mind works. Unless it has supportive information that will allow you to do what you want to do, it's kind of like, sorry, not going to help you, because the primary function of the subconscious mind is to keep us safe. And it thinks it's keeping us safe by doing the thing we programmed in when we were surviving as children.
Yep.
And that's where we get stuck.
Yep.
So that's like, I don't understand how, and I learned about this, this is the thing why we see people sabotaging or getting stuck. It's like consciously, I've got this great intention. I want to go do this, experience this, be this. You send that intention down to the subconscious mind. And unless there's supportive material, you have a reference, you know how to do that, you've seen it done, you have supportive beliefs that allow that to happen. If you don't have that, it's not going to happen. Right. So that's why I love this work. It's just, it makes so much sense. And it's the subconscious mind doesn't know good, bad, wrong, or right. It just knows what it was first imprinted and introduced to, and what was safe. And that's the hook. And that's the hard part I find in my, when I teach affirmations and I teach this unhooking from old beliefs. The key is to associate the change, the shift, the desired outcome with safety, that it's safe to have what you desire.
Absolutely. Yes.
Yeah.
That is so key. And this is something I wish everybody could really, really understand and also experience, this whole idea of our brain having a file system, having these reference points. This is why you see exactly what you're saying. This is why you see people choosing, bad relationship after bad relationship. They do things that are not going to be in their highest and best good in terms of their own health, whether it be food choices or friendships or whatever it may be, because they don't have a reference point for what the other potential could possibly look like. The only thing they know is that survival mode instinct instead of reaching that full potential. And I do use that reference, in talking to people, like when I do my emotional work with people as well, and trying to get them to understand that concept that no, you don't make bad choices. You're not destined to just make bad choices. We just have to upgrade that programming a little bit. That is exactly what your work is so helpful in doing, is to teach people a whole new computer system, basically.
Yes. And that's why doing soul work is so important. Your soul knows the way back to you.
Yes.
It knows the way back to your potential, and it wants to get you back into purpose. And that's why I do dream work. And that's why I love when clients are open and to look at their astrology chart. To see an astrology chart is like a soul map. It's like, here is who you came in to be. here is your potential. Here are some roadblocks. Here are some things to become aware of. And it's like, I always say, especially when, have a Christian background, a lot of Christian friends, if they push back on that, I'm like, do you really think God would send us here without any instructions? Come on. Right. So that's how I utilize astrology. And since I was in junior high, it helped me know me, to understand myself. And then dream work, of course, is another gift. Dreams, our psyche, our soul is always trying to support us, either in dream state, awake, or asleep.
Mhm.
We're always getting guidance if we know how to tune in and pay attention and then take action on behalf of ourselves and our soul.
Yeah. Can you
Yeah.
talk a little bit more about the dream work? So say, somebody wants to just even get started with looking at their dreams and what's the meaning. Do you suggest that they keep a dream journal, or what are some resources or some tools that could help somebody get into that a little bit more?
Definitely. The first thing, a lot of times people will say, I don't dream, which is not true. Everyone dreams. It's part of our dreaming, is just part of mental health. It's a way, I always think of it as, we're taking millions, if not billions, of bits of information in all day long. And sometimes it's just a matter of venting it out, taking the trash out. I can't hold all this information. I'll let it go. But often, almost every night, especially when you're in a huge time of transformation, as we are right now. This is why during this time of quarantine and COVID, people are having more intense dreaming. They're remembering their dreams. They're having maybe even nightmares. It's because we're all getting this huge shake and wake up time, right?
Mhm.
So, and when there's a lot of stress, we tend to dream more vividly because our psyche is trying to get us information to help us heal. What's revealed is to be healed, right? So the simple thing is to tell yourself, I do dream and I will remember my dreams. I think of it like creativity too. When creativity and dream work, it's like you have to court the muse. You have to court your soul to give you what you need. It's like a lot of times we not only neglect ourselves in the human experience, but we definitely neglect our soul. And
Mhm.
if you neglect a friend after a while, or you're not showing up and paying attention or listening or really demonstrating a desire to connect, that friend may fade out, right? It's the same with our soul. Like if we're not listening to our dreams, we're not honoring that sacred space, we may not be able to, I call it, catch a dream as easily. But it's just as simple as willingness and then patience to be able to court that energy, welcome it back. So, yes, have a journal by your nightstand. Tell yourself that you will dream. Like tonight, I really want to dream. And not just dream, you can do a process called incubating a dream, which is to put a question that you want to have some information show up in your dream about. Like, I'm not, tell me what I need to do about my job or my relationship. What do I need to know about this person or this choice? And then when you go to sleep and you wake up, you have to give yourself some time of presence. You can't jump right out of bed. It's hard for when you have little ones, because for me, it's my spiritual practice. I tell my husband, don't talk to me when I first wake up. I'll catch my dreams. I'll feel into it, and I'll try to record as much as I can. Now, I've been doing this for so many years. I don't have to write them down anymore. I just review it. I feel into it, and I can hold it. But it is helpful to write it down. Some people like to record. That's fine too, because you can keep your eyes closed and stay connected to the dream. Now, here's the thing, you don't have to remember the whole dream. Catch the feeling of the dream. That's the most important. The feeling is going to connect you to the subconscious material.
The
What
emotion.
is that?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
emotional. What's the emotion of the dream? And where is that familiar to what's going on right now?
Mhm.
So if that's all you do, you're going to connect the dots, because then here's the other thing. Our dreams are generated 24 hours or 48 hours, something in our wake state in our day-to-day life is going to articulate through our psychic material, our subconscious material, and then create a dream that's going to show you in a symbolic way. Dreams are symbolic, they're not literal. Sometimes they're prophetic and they are literal, but mostly they're like the soul language is metaphor and symbology.
Mhm.
So that's why they seem a little crazy. But once you follow the thread of the emotion and this question, where does this feel familiar to something going on in my life?
Right.
So emotion, and then even if you get one unique image, and I have a YouTube video on this on the Soul Nurture channel where I guide people through this dream process, a process that I learned from a dream worker named Bob Haas. And if you catch one image, that is enough to give you that aha awareness, insightful moment of where you connect it. And then when you find that, then you can choose something different and heal it.
Mhm.
So
Yeah.
yeah, you can start simple and then see what happens from there, I'd say.
Yeah. And what do you think about this? So I've read that, I mean, obviously our dreams can have a lot of different interpretations, but I think that the key is to really feel into that emotion that's going on in the dream. That's going to be like the number one key, I think, in deciphering what it is. But
Yes.
I'm curious. So I've read that different people in your dreams oftentimes represent different parts of yourself, or maybe somebody that you either aspire to be like, or maybe you have a dream about someone, but what does that person represent to you? So it's not that person, but it's what they
Yes,
represent.
exactly.
Okay.
Yes, absolutely. Well, everything is about us.
Mhm.
Everything we're witnessing in the world is a projection coming through here,
Yeah.
through this, what we've programmed in, projected outward. And it's the same with our dream work. And so, and it's really, the soul is really clever. It'll utilize people that are as close to what we need to look at. I mean, we see all kinds of, like, I don't know about you, but I dream about actors a lot. I'm present to many different people in the public arena, but why this person?
Uh-huh.
Because they have specific qualities that are needed for me. Either they're my shadow, the negative shadow, or the golden shadow, the light shadow,
Mhm.
which is connected to our potential. So yes, they're all always aspects of us that we're either, well, we're unconscious, we're not aware of it. But it's an invitation to see ourselves, to call ourselves back into wholeness. So for sure.
Mhm.
And it's the same thing in waking state too. The people you're most triggered by, that is connected to your shadow. And the people you most adore and admire, that is connected to your unfulfilled potential.
I love that. That is so important for us to remember as we're going through our life, and especially in those challenging relationships or those challenging people that we have in our life, really figuring out, why is it triggering me? What is it about that? So
Yes.
I also want to talk about astrology a little bit too, because some people are totally into it, some people don't know anything, some people just think it's their sun sign. So can you tell us a little bit more about, I mean, I realize it's a very in-depth subject, but can
Yes.
you tell us more about that?
Yes, it is in depth. In fact, I started learning about it when I was in junior high, and then I'd get to this point where like, this is too much, and
Yeah.
I put it away, and then I'd come back to it, and I'd learn more, put it away. There's so many layers. Just as we are layers upon layers of unique being, that's what astrology shows us too. But I think it's important there to know your sun sign, your moon, your rising. Now, rising is tricky for some people if they don't know their time of birth. Those are essential for our personality makeup, who we are. Now, when we're talking about potential, which is where I look at a chart, I always look at the north and south node. The north node, it's called the node of destiny. It's connected to our purpose, why we're here, what we're here to unfold and contribute. So I always look at that. And I also like to look at where Chiron is, especially for healers. A lot of healers I know, and I'm one of them, that really identify with the archetype of the wounded healer. You familiar with that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So where Chiron is in the chart shows us where we're most wounded or we have the most challenges. And on the opposite side of that is where we are most gifted to support others.
Right.
So like I have Chiron in my second house, which is about self-worth and financial and abundance and material things. I'm I'm amazing at helping people manifest at what they want, but not always for myself. And my self-worth can fluctuate a bit. I know how to work with that. And I know how to empower self-worth in others. So it's really interesting to see. It's something we all have to make peace with. We're all wounded at some level.
Hmm.
But where we're wounded is where our gifts spring from.
Yep.
So I like to look at those things for people. And when I work with their we the big hone in on some areas that where they're having some challenges to learn how to, everything's purposeful. There's no bad chart, no bad aspect, no bad sign. Um, it's all purposeful for our unique soul journey, right?
Right.
So I think it's helpful when I work with clients and they hear that it's reflected back. You're not imagining this. This is real. And this is the energy. But this is how you can work with it. And then there's a relief, like okay, yeah, it's purposeful and I can do this.
Hmm.
And everyone, I think the primary journey of being here is to know ourselves so well that we know how to be in the world and how to contribute what we're here to do.
Right.
Yeah.
And I do want to just touch on one more part of that, which, so the wounded healer piece. I think maybe I hear this a lot from different people. I know I felt it throughout my life as well, but exactly what you're saying, where we are wounded is also our gift in life. So many times people feel unworthy or undeserving because of these wounds that they have, not realizing that is their best gift to serve the world.
Yes. Yes. Absolutely. It's freeing to know that. And it's also humbling
Mhm.
because for me, what it shows us is that everything is purposeful and something greater than us is working through us.
Right.
We're
Exactly.
the vessel.
Right.
And I love this story. I don't know if I should tell it right now. I'm a story person, but have you
Yes,
ever heard the
please tell
story
it.
of the, okay, have you ever heard the story of the crackpot?
I don't, maybe, but go ahead.
Okay. I love this because it speaks to the wound and the gift, right? So, this has been a while since I told the story, but this story of this water bearer who delivers water to his master's home every day. And so he's got this stick and, a vessel of here on this side and the other one. And he fills them up and he walks up this mountain to get to the master's house. And by the time one of them is cracked and it seeps out the water, right? Can't hold, it's not a good container, right? We'd say it's not a good container. And so, as stories go, we personify the one ceramic vessel, and it tells the water bearer one day, thank you for the honor of letting me try to bring water to the master's table, but I'm not doing a good job. I spill out all my water before I get a chance to reach the master's table. So I understand I'm not worthy of this position. Makes me cry. And the water bearer says, come with me. And he walks the pot up the mountainside and he says, notice the left side and notice the right side. On the right side, there's just grass and dirt. But on the left side, what do you notice? Well, there's all kinds of flowers. And the pot says, okay, I noticed that. So why? And the water bearer says, well, I knew you had these so-called flaws that you would seep out water. So I sprinkled flower seeds along the side of the road here, the mountain. And as we walk to the master's house, you've been watering them all this time. So because
I know, I'm like tearing up over here.
because of your unique flaws, you brought unique beauty into the world,
Mhm.
right?
Yeah.
So that's how I feel about Chiron and the wounded healer. We may feel like we're not capable or qualified or worthy, but we don't know where we are sharing our light and growing beauty in the world for just being who we are, just as we are.
Exactly. Oh, I love that story. That's such a
Right.
good one.
I paraphrased it a little bit, but it's a beautiful Zen story that,
Mhm.
yeah. And that is the place I work with a lot of people because we do buy into the myth of not enoughness.
Mhm. Mhm.
And we're so fed and conditioned is how we are in the human experience in the subconscious mind, so conditioned with media and pop popular culture to think it should look like that or be like that. And when we're trying to, and like we're trying to bring our unique purpose, we can get really, sideswiped because it's never going to look like anybody else.
Yep.
And yet we have that comparison thing.
Right.
So that's the other good thing to look at a chart and say, well, wait a minute, I am completely unique. No
Yep.
one's going to be like me. Let's just do that.
Right.
Yeah.
Can we talk about the healing process a little bit? Because that made me think about our process, like exactly like what you said. Our process will never look like anyone else's process. And sometimes we're going to be just on it, and we're going to be feeling confident, and we're going to be breaking down barrier after barrier. And then other times we might feel really lost and in the dark for a while, and it's going to ebb and flow. And, we're going to have some maybe long periods of greatness and then maybe long periods of darkness. Who knows? But can you talk about the process a little bit?
Yeah. So I call that the transformational cycle. And, we are all here in the human experience, but we're all of nature. And just like nature, there are cycles.
Mm-hmm.
And we're all unique beings. And so transformation can look a lot of different ways, but there are some predictable phases, right? And we can be in any kind of phase at any given time. And I actually just posted a video about this too, the transformational cycles, to identify, because right now we are in a collective transformational cycle. I don't know anyone that's not touched by what we're all experiencing, right? So we can see that, this ebb and flow. We have good days some days, and those are kind of replenish, refill. And honestly, I do believe, and I think if we make peace with this, it's easier. We're all here to continue to unfold and rebirth ourselves over and over and over again. Otherwise, we're just stuck in this conditioned self, right? So it can look like that. And we have to, I think that, especially I know that you're a Scorpio too. Some people have more intense, deeper dives, like the Scorpio, or the people who have a lot of, Pluto strong in their chart. Yeah, we don't just go to stories of curiosity of change. We go deep, and sometimes that journey takes a while. And we have to, I see you tearing up, that we have to give ourselves grace. This too is unique to me.
Mm-hmm.
Transformation is part of your purpose. It's part of all of our purpose, but how we do it. And this is a thing to make peace with as a practitioner. And I think we've talked about this too, because we like to deep dive doesn't mean everybody else wants to deep dive. And we
Not
just
everybody
meet
doesn't
people
do it.
not everybody does, not everybody wants to, and maybe they don't need to. And so we just need to honor where we are and what we need. And again, the more we listen to our souls, to our dream, that guidance, we know it's okay. Oh, here I go again. I've got to slough off some more of this human experience. Oh, and now I need to address this material that's coming in my dream that I knew I needed to deal with at some time. I'm going to just go into this now and give myself permission. The first phase of transformation cycle, I say, is acknowledging something's not working.
Right.
It's not working this way. I mean, we see it collectively right now. A lot of things are not working.
Yeah.
Okay, we acknowledge it doesn't work. And then we surrender to the process of transformation, to trust to know that something greater can be emerged through this, right? So, and the thing is, as you were talking about dreams, these very many aspects of us in dreams, we have very many aspects that can support us and midwife us through these transformations. We can hold sorrow and grief just as much as we can hold joy at the same time. We're multifaceted. So I think just acknowledging, oh, I'm in a transformational cycle. I have to honor that, but I could also pace myself. I call it pacing with grace. Pace with grace. Yeah, hard time, challenging time. I'm in another transformational cycle. I'm going to honor that and also take care of myself with grace and compassion, acceptance, and good self-care.
Right.
Right? Yeah.
So one thing that this makes me think about is you and I have talked a lot about the fear component which
Mm.
I'm also going to post the video that you did on fear. I'm going to post that into this module as well so people can watch that. It was a great, just fantastic video. But can we talk about that a little bit? Because I think that's one blockage when it comes to some of these deep dives, or just even the healing process in general, just even going into the subconscious mind. I think that fear really blocks a lot of people from accessing it, or even being willing to look, because maybe for some they don't know how deep it goes or how dark it is, and that's just a piece that they don't really want to open up. And obviously we're not saying everyone has to open it up, that's all on your time, that's your journey. But if somebody wants to yet they're fearful, what advice would you have for them?
Well, I want to say this, to remember, if we could hold this, that we come from love, we are not from fear. That fear is in the human experience. And fear is connected to our conditioned self,
Mm-hmm.
not from our soul, not from our authentic being. So fear is like, wait a minute. It's like fear is saying, hold on now. You're wanting me to change something that's kept me safe.
Right.
So that's understandable. The important step is to reassure self, I will keep myself safe as I do this exploration, to find a safe support person, to take those gentle baby steps with willingness, right? We don't want to just dive right in, but, and to trust also. Here's the thing about the brilliant creation of our mind body system. In general, like I'm the type of, when people come to me for hypnotherapy and they want regression, I don't do it. I don't go fishing around in the psychic material. I don't do that in subconscious material, because your subconscious mind, your soul will emerge what is needed to be worked on at the right time.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
And so when someone is invited into transformation, we'll be invited, that's sort of a little pebble, like, oh, maybe you should take a look. And then it's a brick, then it's a 2x4, and then it's a major crisis. So my thought is, just be willing to be present. Is there anything I need to do on behalf of myself and my unfolding?
Right.
Pay attention to the dreams. If there's something that's there that's reoccurring and nagging you, and I need to pay attention to this, just be willing. First, reassure yourself you will be safe, that if it's being presented, it's that your mind body system trusts you at this time to do something with it.
Right.
Right? Does
Right.
that make sense?
Absolutely.
I think you just froze. Oh no.
Oh, it's okay. Can you hear me? Hi.
You just
Okay,
froze.
don't worry. We got all of that though, so that was good.
Okay, good.
And so it made me think of something. So if 95% of our if 95% of our brain is ran by the subconscious piece, and we learn all of this as a child by the age of 7 years old or so. So as we're
Mhm.
working through a lot of these fears of our in the adult mind, and the fears that are blocking us and holding us back from moving forward and through the healing process, I think that that's something that we have to understand too, is that the whole safety piece, we have to, in a way, find a way to separate our adult self from that child who learned all of that programming at a very young age, and understand we are now in control. We are now in
Yes.
control of our environment, of our relationships, what's happening to our body, all of those things.
Yes, excellent point. I do want to make a distinction. It's the mind that is programmed.
Mm-hmm.
The brain is just that, yeah, there's a distinction there. The mind is the malleable part that is programmed and all the information. But really, excellent point. Yes, we learn the majority of this when we're kids, and we call it the default programming.
Mm-hmm.
When we're overwhelmed and a lot of stress, we tend to default back to that earlier programming, because that's what we most associated with safety.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of times we show up as a child in our adult worlds and feel like we're not capable because we're accessing that limited childhood information. So it's very important to say, yes, the adult self, and even bigger and stronger than that, is to imagine empowered protectors within us.
Right.
To have more resources to show up how we desire to show up.
Right.
So that's a really, really important point, that when you feel limited, when you feel like, I can't find the words, you've probably called forth your inner child who's not supposed to be in charge of that conversation or situation.
Right.
So I do a lot of inner child work with people, because I think that that inner child needs our attention and support and love to finish the process. Our inner child holds our potential,
Yeah.
but also excellent to say, yes, let the adult you show up,
Right.
and let that inner child know, we've got this, you're safe. And that, again, that key component, empowering safety in our mind body system.
Yeah.
Right.
It does feel like a blending of the two with our adult and our child piece, because I feel like when we come into this world, we are all of us. We are very innocent and pure, and we come in who we are, and then we end up going through the different conditioning patterns and different things that tell us who we should be. And so it's almost like we're trying to find our way back to each other, where we're letting go of the fears and we're finding our true self again, to merge again.
Yes, excellent. Yeah, it's because the child holds all the potential and purpose.
Right.
And had we had the most supportive environments to grow that potential, which I don't know a lot of people who did, and that we just have to honor that. And that too is purposeful.
Yeah.
We have the parents we had for a reason. We had the situations we had. I don't like to say everything happens for a reason, but I say things happen. We find the reason, and we find the magic and the healing and the blessings within that are purposeful to the sculpting and recalling of who we truly are back into the world.
Right.
But you're absolutely right. I mean, the joy, potential, and the inner child, we need that. I always say your inner child needs you as much as you need your inner child.
Yes,
Yeah.
absolutely.
Yeah.
So, can we talk about a little bit about your process? And so, I'm familiar with it because I've experienced it. But can you explain what that looks like to, a lot of people that maybe they've never done anything like this before? How do you go about that?
Yeah. So I'd like to say, we're all very unique, and this is why I just kept compiling all kinds of tools and, modalities, from transformational hypnotherapy, dream work, NLP. Um, my goodness, I have so many different things I've trained with, because when I meet a person and I sense where they are, and I get a sense of what they are desiring, their desired outcome, um, I will let them lead me. I like to say I meet people where they are. I ask, where do you want to go? This is where I say soul guide. Tell me about what you want to experience that you're not able to experience. And then it may look like a few different things. The first session's pretty much standard. I condition them to the process of working with me with some guided imagery. We create a desired outcome together. I start helping them catch some of those limiting beliefs that got generated when they were younger, that are the immobilizers, that they block us and stop us right in our tracks. So do a lot of belief work. And then I teach them tools, how to notice and catch all of those things, and then to process them on their own. I think of myself as like, if I was a personal trainer in a gym and I took you through a great workout and went back to the gym, nothing changes.
Mhm.
So I always give, when we're working with a client, like, here's where I can support you. Support yourself, and the more you support yourself, the quicker it's going to go. So yeah, right. So mostly I'm listening to the narrative of how they're talking about their lives. I'm catching those unconscious narratives that they're not even aware of. I often will just say, can I reflect back what you just said? I remember one time years ago, I was working with a woman with chronic neck issue, and she'd been to doctors, everything was fine. And so, tell me a little bit about your life. And she's sharing, and she kept saying her husband was such a pain in the neck. I said, can you repeat back what you just said to me? She said, what did I just say? I said, you just said that your husband is a pain in the neck. She's like, I did? Yes, you did. So with her, I reassociated her association with her husband. can we call that something else so your body doesn't have to hold that for you? So everyone is very different. Some people come in with the very goal oriented, this is exactly what I want to do. Okay, great. They know exactly what they want to do. We're going to just give that information to the subconscious mind, set up some practices and the conscious state to support that. Some people like to do deeper soul work. They want to bring their dreams in. Some people like to do more deeper dives in the imagery. And I do a thing called integrative imagery or interactive, and then we integrate all of those components. So each person's different, and I just follow them and support them with my tools as we go. We never go where they don't want to go. And I'm just listening and supporting, basically. Yeah, holding space.
I love it. You have so much to offer. I mean, everything that you do is just, I feel it's just so profound. There's just so much that you can do for people, and that you help other people discover about themselves. Yeah.
That's the key, right? I think here's the key. That's it right there, Autumn. We all need positive, reflective, supportive mirrors.
Right.
That is a missing ingredient for a lot of people. And that's why I call myself the soul nurturer. I'm holding up a mirror to show that beautiful essence of each person's potential. And they, until they can hold that for themselves, I reflect it back.
Right.
Right? I hold the space of hope and faith and believing until they can do that for themselves. It's like I always think of like putting on the little training wheels on a bike, and then we take them off, and then they go off into their world, and they've got the tools to do what they need. Yeah.
That's perfect. That's exactly, yes, that is the perfect image to have.
Yeah.
So we can find you. You have a few different YouTube channels, right?
I have, my own personal channel, which is still unfolding. The intention was just to expand to more people out there. I was still fumbling about the content, but in general, I put out supportive information on the Soul Nurture channel, Victoria Jazwic. And then I have one called The Sister My Soul, which started with just a desire in my heart to reach out to women. Started it with my friend Carrie Campbell initially. We're two practitioners. We were just sharing our tools and our experiences as women. And now I have Asha from Center for Spiritual Living in Port Angeles, this phenomenal woman who stepped in and said, sure, so we just have conversations, and like we're doing, whatever unfolds, we know and trust it'll touch someone out there that needs a little support. So those are my YouTube channels. And then I have my website is sacredsoulvision.com is where people can find me. And I do a free consultation for 20 minutes, but they can also book sessions through there.
Okay, perfect. Well, awesome. I really hope that people take the time to look at some of those videos and check out your website and, look into the work that you do. I know it's life-changing, and I really hope that people, take that opportunity to learn more. So thank you. So was there anything else that you want to tell people, or anything else that you can think of?
You're so intuitive. I love you. Actually, I've created a class that every year for around the new year, I teach, I call it soul visioning, sacred soul visioning, which is my take on vision boarding, but much deeper, connecting to the subconscious mind. And I put that on an online class called Sacred Soul Visioning. You can find it on my website. And then I also started a program or a container in March or April when we first were in shelter in place, and I changed that to shelter in soul because I knew it was such an opportunity.
Yeah.
We are being asked to stay home and be present to ourselves. What? Well, there's, you can either be present and do the work, or you can fumble around in the darkness of your unwillingness, or lean in. And so the joke of it is I thought I'd do it over 21 days. I call it Shelter in Soul. And every day I have a module. And then finally I realized, no, this is a long unfolding. So it's 3 phases. It's cocooning, dissolving, and then emerging.
Yeah.
And so people can pace through it how they want. They can do it every day, or they can do one day for a week. Or, I have a couple participants that are still like expanding through the program because it's deep, it's rich, and we're still unfolding right now. We're
Yeah.
not in emerging phase collectively yet. We are still in dissolving, deconstructing, and waiting for the cue and the knowing of what's possible that's still wanting to emerge. So we're seeing that collectively, and that's the work we all need to be doing right now to contribute to that great push for the rebirth.
Absolutely.
So Shelter and Soul is also available, and I think those are on my website as well.
Perfect. Oh, that sounds lovely. That,
Yeah.
I mean, yeah, what an opportunity that we have been given. You know, we have no choice but to really, you know, get real with ourselves and spend a lot of time with ourselves and our family, and, you know, really just look at our life. You know, that's what this opportunity has done for a lot of people. And some experiences have been absolutely wonderful and just obviously life changing. The whole experience is life changing. And then other situations have come up where, you know, we're like, oh, maybe that's not what I want in my life. Maybe that's not how I want to be doing, you know, how I want to be going moving forward, or maybe I don't necessarily want those relationships in my life, or, you know, just other things. So you can look at it from one perspective or the other, but, you know,
Yes.
we have been given a
You
great
said the key word. Yes, opportunity.
Yeah.
I say that over and over again. Do not miss this opportunity for transformation.
Yeah.
Astrologically, you know, astrologers have been saying 2020 is going to be a significant year, and it is.
Yeah.
And we're in the middle of it still through 2021. There's still the big push
Yeah.
to get us to a higher possibility. So the more we take the responsibility, lean into it as an opportunity, do our work, we are contributing to something greater. Yeah. So
Oh, okay, I just have one more question because that made me think of something else. And I don't want to put you on the spot or anything, but so according to astrology, can you give us a little insight about, you know, 2020, 2021, kind of what's floating around out there?
you know, my strength isn't the forecasting as much as it is the personal insights in the chart. But we are still like, I will say this. So when March of 2020, when COVID happened and all this stuff was just crazy making, we had the three heavyweights of transformation. Well, the two heavyweights, Saturn and Pluto, have been dancing together and, you know, conjunction. And Pluto is like the deep transformer. Let's go deep and dive into all the nooks and crannies and darkness that's not working individually and collectively. We're seeing that. Saturn says, learn your lesson. Take your lessons and apply them to something different that works. Create a new foundation. Those two connected to Jupiter, and which is the expander, like expand everything, really look at it. Well, now we have Mars aspecting them. So Mars is now retrograding. And so we're getting in that water, that same deep, intense water that we experienced in March, which is, I hate to say it, you know, but it looks like we're probably going to have more shutdown or more challenges with COVID. We're not out of the waters yet.
Yeah.
And to me, if this is what I want to say about that, when we all went into quarantine in March, yeah, some of us just checked out and watched Netflix. And hey, if that's what you needed to do, awesome. But this second go round, please roll up your sleeves, be willing to look in as much as you can. And if it's just saying, what am I present to that I know needs to change? What have I learned and how can I apply that? And have the willingness to do that, because it's coming around again. And as we collectively do that, then we can again do that big push collectively to change some of the bigger structures. And it's all about structures that need to be dismantled and rebuilt.
Yep.
And as we do it, as within, so without, we have greater potential to do that. So yeah, we are in those waters again of intensity. Mars is making aspects to these planets. Mars is in Aries in retrograde. Mars in Aries, it likes to push forward and get things done, but it's retrograding. So there could feel like more frustration and more anger and irritability. So the more we manage this inner environment and trust that everything we're feeling is purposeful.
Right.
Again, You're a mama. I haven't given birth, but I've given birth to myself over and over again. And I've helped, I always say, I've birthed a lot of people through my heart. Birthing is hard. It's messy. The energy right now is conducive to an intense time of rebirthing. So just trust and surrender and do what you can to contribute and not contaminate.
Absolutely, 100%. And that I think is so important for people, especially right now, is a lot of people I think feel helpless and hopeless and we don't know what to do, but I think that's the key is that the outer change will come from the inner change. And when we transform ourselves and how we view each other, and just life in itself and create more love and compassion and kindness for ourselves, then for others, the whole world will change.
Yes. And one last thing I like to say is for a lot of people, they're drawn to you and someone like me. We've read the books, we've done the processes, we've watched the movies. This is the practice now to take everything you've learned and practice with all your might. And notice how hard the practice is. I mean, for me right now, my practice is how can I stay centered and holding a space of love for everyone? Yes, everyone. What? Not always easy. and right now, and like, whoa, wait a minute. I always thought I was a compassionate, loving person. But when I watch certain people in the news, that is gone. So my practice is to come back to that place, to come back to what I said, what I intended, who I know I can be, and to practice at that level, that higher level. So we've got lots to practice with, and it's time now to do that work.
Yep, it's go time, people.
It's go time. Absolutely. Yeah.
Oh, well, thank you so much for doing this with me today. I really appreciate it. And I think that definitely you're going to touch a lot of people with, just talking today. I think it's going to really help open up a lot of people to that healing piece that maybe was missing.
Oh, well, it's been a delight. And this was fun. This was the first time I've done an interview. I've done a lot of presentations on Zoom and for podcasts, but this was a lot of fun. Thank you. And thank you for your kind words and for your beautiful soul and for the work that you do.
Oh, thank you so much.